In this module, we will study the application of the Huckel molecular orbital theory to organic conjugated hydrocarbons. But the organic conjugated hydrocarbon which we are going to study here is a cyclic one. That means we are going to study the organic conjugated hydrocarbon named cyclopropenyl radical. Earlier, if you remember, we have already studied the application of the Huckel molecular orbital theory to both ethylene as well as butadiene. But here we are studying cyclopropenyl radical. Before we discuss the HMO calculations for this molecule, let me recap the basics of Huckel molecular orbital theory. You already know that Huckel molecular orbital theory is an approximate method, and the basis of this method is that in organic conjugated hydrocarbons, we treat pi electrons separately from sigma electrons. That means the basis of this method is sigma pi electron separability, which is very important. We presume that pi electrons are assumed to be moving in a potential of sigma electrons as well as the nuclei. So that's basically the whole principle of HMO. Now, how are these HMO calculations done? HMO calculations are done using variation method and the principle of LCAO-MO. In the LCA-MO, we basically take atomic orbitals, which in this case are pi atomic orbitals. So that's basically how one starts. In the variation method, as you already have learned, one starts with an approximate wave function. So in this case, in the HMO, the approximate wave function or the approximate molecular orbital with which we start is a linear combination of pi atomic orbitals. That means we assume phi A to be equal to summation Ci psi 2p z I, and I is taking a summation from 1 to n, where n is the number of carbon atoms. So here you can see that each carbon atom has a pi atomic orbital centered on it, and we presume this to be along z direction because the corresponding molecule is taken to be planar in the xy plane. Once we have this atomic orbital, then using variation method, one can calculate the corresponding approximate energy. The approximate energy using variation method is given by the following expression, which is EA is equal to integral phi A star H cap, that is the Hamiltonian, then phi A d tau divided by integral phi A star phi A d tau. So this is the expression for the approximate energy. Here we don't need to define our Hamiltonian explicitly, although it incorporates the effect of the interaction of the pi electrons with the rest of the nuclei as well as sigma electrons. Once we solve this expression for the approximate energy and expand it, we ultimately get a set of equations, simultaneous equations, which can be written in the form of secular determinant, and the corresponding secular determinant is H11 minus ES11, first row up to H1n minus ES1n. And similarly, we have the last row, which is Hn1 minus Esn1, and the last element in this row is Hnn minus Esnn, and that's equal to 0. So that's basically the secular determinant. So now the next step is how to solve this secular determinant. To solve this secular determinant, Huckel made certain approximations, and he treated these integrals HII, HIJ, SII and SIJ as the corresponding parameters which can be evaluated empirically by fitting the theory to experimental results. So Hij, which is the corresponding integral psi I star h cap psi j d tau, this integral, if it is Hi is equal to j, then Hij is taken to be equal to alpha, which is called Coulomb integral, and for I not equal to j, Hij becomes beta, and that's known as resonance integral. Similarly, the corresponding Sij, which are represented by the integral psi I star psi j d tau. Now Sij is equal to 1 if I is equal to j, and Sij is equal to 0 if I is not equal to j. So this is basically the corresponding overlap integral. Once these Huckel approximations are put in the secular determinant, and then if we expand that n by n Huckel determinant, we ultimately get a polynomial equation which has n real roots and which give n energy levels and n molecular orbitals for the n pi electron system. The energy of any ath molecular orbital is given by the Ea is equal to alpha plus xa beta, where xa is the ath root of the polynomial equation which we get by expanding the secular or Huckel determinant. After having done a quick recap of HMO, let's now apply this theory to a cyclic conjugated hydrocarbon cyclopropenyl radical. As you can see here, it is a 3 pi electron system in which each carbon atom contributes 1 pi electron. And for the sake of our calculations, we are labeling cyclopropenyl radical in the following way. For this system now, the Huckel molecular orbital wave function, as you can see, phi A is equal to C1 psi 2pz1 plus C2 psi 2pz2 plus C3 psi 2pz3. Please see that psi 2pz1 is the pi atomic orbital centered on carbon atom 1, and similarly psi 2pz3 is the pi atomic orbital centered on carbon atom 3. Now using this molecular orbital and then applying variation principle, we can get the corresponding secular equations which look like we get 3 secular equations. The first is H11 minus ES11 C1 plus H12 minus ES12 then C2 plus H13 minus ES13 C3, and similarly we have the other 2 equations. Now these 3 secular equations can be written in the form of a determinant as. Now our next aim is to solve the secular determinant. But while solving secular determinant, we will have to apply Huckel approximations, and we also have to keep it in mind that it is a cyclic system. And you can see that carbon atom 1, carbon atom 2, they are linked to each other. Similarly, 1 is linked to 3 and 2 is also linked to 3. So these aspects have to be considered while applying Huckel approximations. So here you can see that because of the cyclic nature of the molecule, H11, H22 and H33 all will be equal to alpha individually. Similarly, H12, H121, H13, H31, H23, H32, all these are linked to each other. They are like neighbors. So the corresponding values of each one of them individually is equal to beta. And as we have already discussed, overlap integral S11, S22, S33 will be equal to 1, whereas the corresponding integral S12, S21, S13, S31, S23 and S32, all these individually would be equal to 0. So now applying these approximations to the Huckel determinant, we get the following form of the Huckel determinant. So the first row in the Huckel determinant becomes alpha minus E, beta, beta. Then the second is beta, alpha minus E, beta. And the third is again beta, beta and alpha minus E. And then we have the coefficients column determinant C1, C2, C3. And since the coefficients are not equal to 0, because you can very well imagine that if each of these coefficient is 0, then the molecular orbital will not exist. So since these are not equal to 0, therefore the Huckel determinant, which is the following, is equal to 0. Now in this Huckel determinant, to further simplify it, we make the following assumptions, and the following assumptions are: alpha minus E upon beta is taken to be equal to lambda. So we are substituting this, and once we substitute, the corresponding Huckel determinant simplifies to the following form. The Huckel determinant now looks like: the first row is lambda 1 1, second is 1 lambda 1, and the third is 1 1 lambda, and this has to be equal to 0. Now in order to solve this determinant, let's expand it, and if we expand this determinant, it comes in the form of a polynomial equation of order 3, and that equation is lambda cube plus 3 lambda plus 2, and that's basically equal to 0. So if we simplify this equation, there will be 3 roots of this equation, and as you can see here, the 3 roots of this polynomial equation are: lambda 1 is equal to minus 2, whereas the other 2 roots are having the same value. That means lambda 2 is also equal to 1 and lambda 3 is also equal to 1. So these are the 3 roots which we get from the solution of the Huckel determinant. Now for these 3 values of lambda, we can get the corresponding values of the 3 molecular orbitals. For lambda 1 is equal to minus 2, you will find that the corresponding energy is E1 is equal to alpha plus 2 beta. And for lambda 2 and lambda 3, each being equal to 1, the value of the corresponding energy molecular orbital is alpha minus beta. So we have now 3 molecular orbitals, one of energy alpha plus 2 beta, and then there are 2 molecular orbitals, each of energy alpha minus beta. That means this is degenerate. After having calculated the energies of these molecular orbitals, now we can draw the HMO energy level diagram for cyclopropenyl radical. And as you can see, there are 3 pi electrons, and the lowest molecular orbital is having energy alpha plus 2 beta. So this molecular orbital will have 2 electrons, and the remaining third electron will be accommodated in the molecular orbital with energy equal to alpha minus beta. And these has 2 levels. There are 2 molecular orbitals with the same energy. As I said it earlier, these are degenerate, but there will be only 1 electron in this set of degenerate molecular orbitals. After having drawn the energy level diagram for our cyclopropenyl radical, one can calculate the total pi electron energy, that means E pi of cyclopropenyl radical. And this, as you can see here, will be equal to 2 times alpha plus 2 beta plus alpha minus beta. That means it comes out to be 3 alpha plus 3 beta. That's the total pi electron energy of cyclopropenyl radical. Now we will calculate the resonance energy. If you remember it, we also calculated resonance energy in the case of butadiene. In the present case, there are 3 carbon atoms, so resonance energy will be the energy difference between the energy of pi electrons of cyclopropenyl radical and the sum of energies of isolated double bond. So the energy of 2 pi electrons of ethylene molecule, if you remember we did it earlier, that is equal to 2 alpha plus 2 beta. And then there is 1 carbon atom which is isolated, that's not a part of this. Its energy is equal to alpha, that's sort of isolated atom. So the resonance energy becomes equal to 3 alpha plus 3 beta minus 2 alpha minus 2 beta minus alpha. And if we solve it, it comes out to be beta. That means cyclopropenyl radical is stable by a factor of beta in comparison to an isolated double bond and 1 carbon atom containing pi electron. So this would be basically resonance energy, or we also can call it delocalization energy. Another term which we will now consider is, and that is the pi bond formation energy, which is basically the energy released when a pi bond is formed. In the case of cyclopropenyl radical, the pi bond formation energy would be equal to the energy of the cyclopropenyl radical minus the energy of 3 isolated carbon atoms, and that each one of them has energy equal to alpha. Therefore, the corresponding value of the pi bond formation energy becomes 3 alpha plus 3 beta minus 3 alpha, and that comes out to be equal to 3 beta. And therefore, one can say that the pi bond formation energy of cyclopropenyl radical is 3 beta. After having discussed all this, now we will go to the calculation of the molecular orbitals. That means the wave functions for the molecular orbitals. And this is possible only if we calculate the corresponding HMO coefficients. If you remember, we had the corresponding secular equations which looked like the following. These are clear. First is the Huckel determinant, and the next is a column determinant which is having the coefficient C1, C2 and C3. If we simplify it as we are doing it here, we get the corresponding 3 equations, and then for, let's first have lambda is equal to -2. Then these equations, further simplification of these equations, and then using the same thing for other values of lambdas as we have done it here, we are able to calculate the corresponding values of C1, C2 and C3 for each of the lambda values. As you can see here, in the calculation of these coefficients, we have, as we did it earlier in the case of butadiene as well, we have employed the corresponding normalization condition also. That means the sum of the squares of the coefficients is always equal to 1. So following this whole procedure, we find that when lambda is equal to -2, the values of the 3 coefficients C1, C2 and C3, each one of them is individually equal to 1 upon under root 3, and therefore the corresponding wave function for the molecular orbital becomes psi1 is equal to 1 upon under root 3, then in the brackets we have psi 2pz1 plus psi 2pz2 plus psi 2pz3. Similarly, we can also calculate the wave functions for lambda is equal to 1 value. So for lambda is equal to 1, as you can see, our detailed calculations show that C1 is equal to 1 upon under root 2, and the corresponding value of C2 is equal to minus 1 upon under root 2. And therefore, the wave function for this molecular orbital becomes psi 2 is equal to 1 upon under root 2 psi 2pz1 minus psi 2pz2. Please note here that we are assuming here C3 to be equal to 0, as you must have noticed in our calculations. And now we will determine the molecular orbital for lambda is equal to 1. Now if we put lambda is equal to 1 in the secular equations, 3 equations, each one of them, as you can see, looks same. C1 plus C2 plus C3 is equal to 0. Second is also C1 plus C2 plus C3 is equal to 0. And third is also the same. So the question is how to calculate the values of the coefficients. Of course, there is one condition of normalization, and that is C1 square plus C2 square plus C3 square is equal to 1. But then how to calculate the values of the corresponding individual coefficients C1, C2, C3 for lambda is equal to 1. And please remember, we have already learned that for lambda is equal to 1, there are two degenerate molecular orbitals. Each one of them has energies equal to alpha minus beta. So how to calculate the wave functions for these two molecular orbitals? So one of the simplest method for determining the coefficients for these two degenerate molecular orbitals is that we assume C3 to be equal to 0. So after putting C3 is equal to 0, each of the secular equation which was similar, now it becomes C1 plus C2 is equal to 0, and that means C1 is equal to minus C2. And then there is also a normalization condition according to which C1 square plus C2 square plus C3 square is equal to 1. And if we are putting C3 to be equal to 0, then it becomes C1 square plus C2 square is equal to 1. And therefore, using these two sets of equations, one can calculate the corresponding values of C1 and C2 when C3 is equal to 0. And these two values of C1 and C2 come out to be, as you can see here, C1 is equal to 1 upon under root 2 and C2 is equal to minus 1 upon under root 2. Having done this, therefore we get the wave function for the molecular orbital with energy equal to alpha minus beta to be, and that is what we are showing. Phi2 is equal to 1 upon under root 2, and in the brackets we have psi 2pz1 minus psi 2pz2. This is the case when we are assuming C3 to be equal to 0. So in this way we have been able to get one molecular orbital for energy alpha minus beta. Now the question comes, how to get the wave function for the second degenerate molecular orbital with this energy alpha minus beta. As you remember, we chose C3 to be equal to 0, but we cannot repeat the same process for determining Phi3 because we must remember that the molecular orbital Phi3 must be orthogonal to other two molecular orbitals of the system, that is Phi1 and Phi2. That means the following two conditions must be satisfied. That means integral Phi1 Phi3 d tau equals 0, which represents the orthogonality of Phi1 and Phi3. And secondly, integral Phi2 Phi3 d tau to be equal to 0, which is nothing else but the orthogonality of the molecular orbitals Phi2 and Phi3. Now if we take the orthogonality of the molecular orbitals Phi2 and Phi3 and substitute the corresponding values which we have obtained, we get the following. Now you can see in this integral, the first part is Phi2, which we calculated above. And the second part is what we need to calculate for Phi3, that is C1 psi 2pz1 plus C2 psi 2pz2 plus C3 psi 2pz3. So if we expand this equation and simplify it, as you can see, we get, so from here we notice that we obtain that C1 is equal to C2 in this case. But we have already learned that the sum of the squares of the three coefficients must be equal to 1. That means C1 square plus C2 square plus C3 square must be equal to 1. Therefore, now substituting all these values which we have obtained, one is the normalization condition and second is that C1 which is equal to C2 is ultimately equal to 1 upon under root 6. Whereas the corresponding value of C3 is minus 2 upon under root 6. Now using these values of the three coefficients, one can write the corresponding molecular orbital Phi3 as Phi3 equals 1 upon under root 6 psi 2pz1 plus 1 upon under root 6 psi 2pz2 minus 2 upon under root 6 psi 2pz3. Now in this way we have been able to calculate the wave functions for all the three molecular orbitals, and using these wave functions we can also draw a pictorial representation of these molecular orbitals which has been shown in this figure. You can see that for Phi1 all the coefficients are positive, each is equal to 1 upon under root 3 and the corresponding positive lobes are shown of the pi orbitals. Whereas for Phi2, two coefficients C1 and C2 are 1 upon under root 2, but one is positive, other is negative, whereas the corresponding coefficient C3 is 0 in this case. And for the molecular orbital Phi3, coefficients C1 and C2 each is equal to 1 upon under root 6, but for C3, as you can see here, the coefficient is minus 2 upon under root 6 and therefore the negative lobe is shown. After having calculated the wave functions for the three molecular orbitals, now we can calculate the electron density at each of the carbon atoms. Electron density is given by the following general relation. Qn is equal to summation Ni Cin square. So in the case of cyclopropenyl radical, as you know, it is a 3 pi electron system. 2 pi electrons are in the energy state 1, which is with the energy alpha plus 2 beta, while the third electron may be placed in either of the two energy states E2 or E3 because they are degenerate. So in such a case, electron density is always calculated by assuming that half of the available electron is in each of the degenerate molecular orbitals. That means Phi2 and Phi3. So using this, one can calculate the charge density at carbon atom 1. So that is Q1. As you can see here, if we substitute the corresponding values of the coefficients from the various wave functions, the total charge density comes out to be 1 for each of the carbon atoms Q1, Q2 and Q3. Now we will calculate the pi bond order between the two atoms A and B, which of course are linked to each other. As we did it in the case of butadiene, here also we will use the same expression, and the expression is bond order between atoms A and B, pi bond order will be given by the expression is equal to summation I Ni Cia Cib, where you know Ni is the corresponding occupancy and Cia and Cib are the corresponding coefficients. So the pi bond order basically, as you know, represents the extent of pi bonding between adjacent atoms. So in the case of cyclopropenyl radical, if we calculate the pi bond order between carbon atoms 1 and 2, as you can see here, its value comes out to be 0.5. And similarly, if we calculate the pi bond order between atoms 2 and 3 as well as between atoms 1 and 3, again it comes out to be 0.5. So it is very important that all the three bonds basically have the corresponding pi bond order of 0.5 value. Since between any two carbon atoms, besides pi bond, there is also a sigma bond whose order is 1. Therefore, the total bond order between any two atoms will be 1 plus sigma bond order, which is 0.5, and that comes out to be 1.5. We calculated the pi bond order between two connected atoms. But as you know that between any two carbon atoms, there is also a sigma bond. Therefore, we often talk about the total bond order between the two atoms, and that will be 1 plus pi bond order between those two atoms. So in this module today, we have discussed the application of HMO to a cyclic conjugated hydrocarbon, cyclopropynyl radical. HMO, as you have already learned, is basically an approximate method which uses variation principle and LCAO-SMO to calculate the properties of organic conjugated hydrocarbons. The basis of this method is sigma pi electron separability. That means pi electrons are assumed to be moving in a field or in a potential generated by sigma electrons and the nuclei. We have applied HMO to a simple cyclopropynyl radical, which is a 3 pi electron system. We found that if we apply HMO to this molecule, we are able to get the three energy levels. One is with the energy alpha plus 2 beta, whereas the other two levels, which are degenerate, they have energy each equal to alpha minus beta. We also calculated the resonance energy or the delocalization energy, which comes out to be equal to beta. We have also calculated the wave functions for the three molecular orbitals, and we found that phi1 comes out to be equal to 1 upon under root 3 psi 2pz1 plus psi 2pz2 plus psi 2pz3, whereas phi2 comes out to be equal to 1 upon under root 2 psi 2pz1 minus psi 2pz2. This was calculated when we assumed C3 to be equal to 0, and then phi3 was calculated using the orthogonality relation, and this comes out to be 1 upon under root 6 psi 2pz1 plus 1 upon under root 6 psi 2pz2 minus 2 upon under root 6 psi 2pz3.